Okay, and your third show you know, or third type of question in 8.1 is when you are solving story problems. So for example, this one here. The formula for speed is speed is equal to distance divided by time, or distance over time, where s equals speed, d equals distance, and t equals time. The length of a Canadian football field, including the end zones, is 137.2 meters. If a horse gallops at 13.4 meters per second, how much time would it take for the horse to cross the field? Express your answer to a nearest tenth of a second. So really, all you have to do for a lot of these questions is step one is simply write your formula. So this one, the formula is given as speed equals distance over time. And I'm looking for how much time. So really, I don't know my time. So I've put in everything that I do know. So the step one is write your formula. Step two is to substitute all of the information you have into your formula. So the distance, or the length of the field, is this d. So I'm going to change this to 137.2. The speed at which the horse gallops, or s, is 13.4. So when I substitute all of my information in here, I end up with this equation. Now this looks simple, but it's actually a two-step equation. Okay? It's actually a two-step equation. So when we have this, what we want to do is we want to isolate for t. Now this is weird because here's what you're going to do first. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to multiply both sides by t. Because 137 divided by t and multiplied by t, those are going to be opposite operations. So when you multiply both sides by t, you end up with 137.2 over here. And on the other side, you end up with 13.4 t. Now what you're going to do is you're going to isolate for t, because that's what you're looking for, how much time, by dividing by 13.4. I'll show you in a second. So that's going to give me t, and 137.2 divided by 13.4 is equal to that big long number. It says to the nearest tenth of a second, which is your first decimal place, which means, and since I rounded it, I'm going to put a decimal above my equal sign to show approximately equal to, and then I'm going to write a sentence. Therefore, the time it will take is approximately, because I rounded, 10.2 seconds. But there is a second way to do it, and it involves taking your formula first. So this was your formula, S equals D over T. Okay? And S equals D over T, since I'm looking for how much time would it take, I have a formula for speed. So what I can do is I can manipulate this original formula, and what I can do is I can isolate T to make a formula just for T. I'll show you what that looks like. So here I'm going to multiply both sides by T. I'm going to get another formula. Distance equals speed times time. So by multiplying both sides by T, I've now created a second formula. Since S equals D divided by T, then distance will equal speed times time as well. And since that's the second formula, I could then take that one. Now remember, I'm looking for a formula, so how much time? And if this formula is true, if I divide both sides by S, then I now have a time formula saying that time is equal to distance divided by speed. So what I have now is three formulas, and I'll just write them over again. D equals ST, S equals D divided by T, and T equals D divided by S, and I've manipulated all three formulas. So you can do that with any type of formula. If you're given a formula, you can isolate the variable that you're looking for to create a formula just for that particular question. So since I'm looking for how much time, and all three formulas work, I'm not going to use this formula. I'm going to use this formula because it's the formula for time. So time equals distance divided by speed would then mean that distance is 137.2 and the speed is 13.4. So therefore the time would be whatever that is, and it works out to be 10.2 as an answer.